Hi, everyone. I'm Danielle Ballantyne, Managing Editor of Foreword Reviews, here with another Petit Forward, our bite-sized interviews with indie authors. Today, we're talking to Samantha Fey, author of The Awake Dreamer, A Guide to Lucid Dreaming, Astral Travel, and Mastering the Dreamscape. Thanks for joining us today, Samantha.
Thank you. I'm very excited to be here.
All right, so just to start off, why don't you tell us a bit about yourself and what led you to this topic for your book?
Sure. So I co-host two podcasts, Psychic Teachers and Enlightened Empaths. And I started out my career in intuitive world of woo-woo from a very grounded, practical place. And I started having all of these dreams that kept coming true. I would have dreams of friends who were pregnant before they knew. All of these different dreams just kept occurring to me nightly, and then they would happen later on in my life. And I started to notice that there was more than just precognitive dreaming happening. I was able to meet with loved ones who had passed on, and it felt very strange to me, and I didn't really understand it. I was raised Catholic. I still go to church, and I thought, what is this? And so I started doing a lot of research into it. Eventually, I started talking about it on both of my podcasts, and I would get all these emails saying, encountered my grandmother. I had a healing experience, and I woke up and went to the doctor, and my issue was gone. And I thought, what is this? So I started really researching what people have said throughout the centuries. I mean, going back to St. Augustine up to, today. And it was so much fun to research and look at. There's a lot of evidence that proves something is happening when we dream. I do think that most nights we go to sleep and we're tired and we just dream and we have these, metaphorical dreams where we're just getting our stress out. But I also think there are many, many times when we dream that our soul is actually leaving our body and traveling maybe to the other side, maybe to a different dimension, maybe to other people in our lives who just need an extra bit of comfort in their own lives. And so I just think something is happening that maybe we don't really understand yet.
So, sort of bouncing off of that, you mentioned sort of astral travel and things like that, and that's covered as well. But the book mostly focuses on dreams, premonitory dreams, like you mentioned, dream visitations. Why do you think it's important for people to understand and maybe even gain some measure of control over their dreams?
Well, I think it's very important because a third of our lives is spent dreaming. So that's something to think about. That's a whole big chunk of our lives where we're spent dreaming. And, science only really started researching dreams seriously in the 1960s, which isn't that long ago when you think about it. And so I do think there's a whole lot left to be discovered about what is happening when we dream. When you're able to be a co-creator with your dreaming life, not only can you get answers to problems that are happening in your daily waking life, but you can also start to realize that you are part of something so much bigger. And the premonitory dreams in particular are fascinating because they give us a heads up as to what's coming down the road for us. For example, a story I talk about a lot in my book. In the summer of 2005, I was married to a police officer. I had two young kids, and I kept having this meditation dream. It would appear to me when I meditated, and then it would happen again when I would fall asleep and dream. And all I saw in this dream was an image of a bullet hitting someone's neck right here. I never saw a face. I just saw the chest and the neck and the bullet hitting the neck. And I told everybody about this dream. Like, what does this mean? What could it be? And unfortunately, about 3 weeks after those dreams stopped, my husband at the time was shot in the line of duty, and he was shot right there in the neck. And I remember when my sisters and my two best friends and I were in this awful room outside of the ICU. It's called the bereavement room. So we're all there praying and hoping, and it's called, the label is bereavement room. And I remember my friend said, "This is what you've been dreaming about." And oddly, Danielle, that gave me hope because I thought, if I was able to pick up on this, if God sent me this dream, there has to be a reason. And so I really started praying, not so much that he wouldn't die. I asked everybody to switch their prayers and pray that he would live. And all the doctors said he wouldn't live that night. Our priest, Monsignor Matt, came in and gave him the last rites, and he lived. I'm so happy to say he lived, and he does suffer from a brain injury, but he did live, and he's doing so well today. And so I think dreams can give us really important heads up about major events that are happening in our lives, and it can bring us comfort that there is this beautiful dance in our life between destiny and fate.
Wow, that's a really beautiful story, and thank you for sharing it with us. Right here, right now, with all the cameras and the faces and stuff. But between your book, your Reiki practice, the two podcasts you mentioned you co-host, and then stories like that you're sharing with people, I imagine you encounter probably more than your fair share of skeptics. So, what would you say to people who are skeptical of picking up this book in particular?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I would say, first of all, if someone is skeptical, you should be, like we all should be. We should all take all of this with a huge, not a grain of salt, but a big old bucket of salt, because it is kind of a strange territory to go into. And like I said earlier, many of our dreams are simply metaphors. And so we shouldn't take every dream as face value. But when I talk about being able to encounter your loved ones in dreams, I think what skeptics should do is evaluate the evidence, look at their own lives, their own dreaming world. There's a story St. Augustine writes in a letter to his friend. He had this really good friend who was a physician, and the two of them were debating, is there life after death? They were just like, what really is coming for us? And in the letter, the friend, the physician, Gennadius, writes that he had a dream where an angel came to him and said, "Are you dreaming right now?" And he said, "Yes, I am." And he said, "Well, then with what eyes are you seeing me? And with what body are you walking with me?" And that is so profound that back in the 5th century, these great, wonderful philosophers and saints were debating this and evaluating and looking at their dreams as, wow, there's something here. Thomas Edison would take a nap every single day, holding 2 balls over pie plates, so that when he would hit the REM state of his sleep, which is where we have our dreams, the balls would hit the plates and he would wake up. And that's how he got so many solutions to the inventions he was working on. Salvador Dali did a similar thing as well. So I would say to skeptics to look at the evidence, look at the research that's been done before jumping to a rash conclusion that, oh, that's all bunk.
Well, I think that's a very well-reasoned response. Hard to argue with that one, for sure. Well, Samantha, is there anything you're working on currently that maybe you could share with us a little bit about?
I'm working on a new book now about soul plans and how we decide about the huge challenges and wonderful blessings that come into our lives. And are they pre-planned? Do we choose our parents? Do our children choose us? So I'm working on a book about that. In August, I'm speaking at the Edgar Cayce Center, and I'm going back there again in November to do an all-day workshop on psychic tools. So I'm very excited about those events.
All right. Well, we look forward to those things, and everyone can check out those podcasts. And we just really appreciate you talking to us today and sitting down.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.